Hello everybody. Today's video is about what is environmental science. If you don't know, I'm Mr. Richards, and I'm making these videos to for my students to have available to teach. Now, I'm human, I make mistakes, and so these videos aren't going to be perfect. So if I say something here that's not exactly right, feel free to ask me about it. Send me an email, make a comment, something like that. That's fine. But anyway, let's get started about what is environmental science. So if you're one of my students, then this is the point where you start taking notes. All right, so go ahead and get those workbooks open, and let's start with the first slide. And so right here what we have is environmental science. That is made up of two words, the environment and science. So the environment includes all the living, so everything that's alive, and non-living things that an organism interacts with. And so let's name some living things. So there's us, there's birds, other animals, kitty cats, puppy dogs, all right? There's also some kind of nasty things like cockroaches, flies, gnats, mosquitoes. Those living things are things in our environment that we interact with, or an organism interacts with. And so we talk about our environment. It's all the stuff that's alive and all the stuff that's not alive, like the desks, your house, cars, the road, the earth, the air that we're breathing. All right? So the environment is all those things. Okay? Next part of environmental science is science. And so science, described by modern scientists, is first, it's learning about the world. All right? So when we do science, what we're doing is we're like going, you know what, I wonder why when we look at the sky it's blue, but it's made of the same stuff that I'm breathing in, and when I look out I don't see blue, it's transparent. I can see through it. And so then there's some investigations that we can do and figure out why when we look up at the sky it looks blue, but when we look across the room it's clear. So that'd be learning about the world. There's also the second part of science, which is the information that is gained from doing science, which would be the first thing that we talked about. So that would be like we know that radioactive isotopes, all right, materials that are radioactive, emit these dangerous rays, this dangerous radiation that harms cells. And if you get too much radiation, then you'll get sick and die. And so now we know that if we see the symbol for radiation, that it's probably a bad place to go and we shouldn't be there. I remember a story about this little girl in South America that was playing around a shut down nuclear reactor, a decommissioned nuclear reactor plant, and found some nuclear material, and she thought it was cool to play with, and ended up getting sick and dying, unfortunately. And so it's important to know what is safe and what is not safe in our environment. And that information comes from doing science. So science is learning about the world and all the information that's gained from other people doing science. So we put the two words together, environmental and science, and we get our definition for environmental science. So it's studying, because that's the science part, our environment. So when we study environmental science, we're going to study three main things. All right, and those three main things are how the natural world works, how our environment affects us, and how we affect our environment. All right, and so for example, we know that if we water plants, they grow. Why? Why does that happen? Why, whenever we throw a rock in the river, it creates these waves that travel out? Why? How our environment affects us. Whenever we go out in the summer and play in the river or at the pool all day, and when the day's over, we get home and our skin is red, why does that happen? That's how our environment affects us. And the last one is how can we affect our environment? Or how do we affect our environment? All right? Whenever we get in our cars and we drive our cars, that puts pollution out. I like driving my car. I know you guys enjoy riding in cars, and maybe some of you are old enough to drive cars now. But that harms our environment. That affects our environment. All right. So I've got a talking point on here, and what I'd like for you to do is pause the video, all right, and go find somebody to talk to about why do we need the natural world. Talk about it. Ask somebody, why do you think we need the natural world? Tell them why you think you need it. And then whenever you come back, I'll give you my thoughts on why we need the natural world. So I'm going to give you just a second to pause the video, and then I'm just going to sit here and pretend like it's paused. Okay, so hopefully you're back with me now, and you've gone and talked to somebody about why we need the natural world. And so for me personally, there's lots of ways you can answer this question, all right? And so it's really hard for there to be an incorrect answer. These are just my personal thoughts. Why we need the natural world is because we're made of the natural world. So our bodies, these things that are us, come from the natural world. So without it, no body, no Mr. Richards, no you. All right. And the food we eat, pizza, love pizza. Donuts, oh, favorite. I've been craving donuts like for a week. And my wife on Sunday went to Walmart. She bought donuts, and guess what happened? Before I could get one, my children, my precious little children, ate them all. I didn't get a single one. But that's okay, because I'm starting to get kind of big, and so I need to cut down on the donuts. Anyway, lost my train of thought. Oh, food. Food comes from the environment. So no food, no. Okay, everybody fill in the blank. No starts with an E. No, that's right. You got it. Energy. That's right. So no energy, no fun. All right. So you don't have anything to play on these things. You know, go on Snapchat, take a selfie. Hold on, I got to take a selfie real fast. Hashtag video. Got it. Okay, great. Sorry about that. Lost my train of thought again. Boy, these are going to be fun videos. Okay, here we go. So natural world is because without the natural world, we wouldn't exist. Now, why is that important is if we damage our natural world, what's going to happen to us? That's right. We won't exist either. We'll die. We'll cease to exist. So one big thing about environmental science is making sure that we protect our natural world. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Let's see what else we get to learn today. I'm excited. What about you? I know you are, right? Okay. Are you guys taking notes? Filled in the blanks? Got everything done? All right, great. Okay. Here we go. So humans affect how we can change our world. It's really simple. The more of us there are, the fewer resources exist. Which brings us to the talk about resources. So there's two types of resources. Uno, dos. Renewable, resources that can be restored fairly quickly, and non-renewable resources, those that once you use them, they're gone forever. All right? Or gone for a really, 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 really long time, like, millions of years. I mean, pretty much for us forever. But anyway, so renewable resources are things like food, all right? So if I like to eat corn, which I like to eat corn on the cob, it's really good, and popcorn, and cream corn, all right? And tortilla chips, that comes from corn, that kind of stuff. Anyway, then I can go out, plant corn grows, okay? I cut the corn down, eat it. Next year, plant more corn. Every year I get more corn. All right, so that's a renewable resource. It goes around a cycle. All right, non-renewable resources like fossil fuels, down there at the bottom, see that? What are fossil fuels? Once we use those, they're gone. All right, we can only pump so much oil out of the earth, all right, or below the oceans, and it's going to be gone because it was something that was made a long, long time ago. All right, so that brings us to what are fossil fuels? Does anybody know what fossil fuels are? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay, well, let me give you my definition. All right. So my definition of fossil fuels, all right, they are the fossilized, well, not fossilized. They call them fossils because they come from the things that were supposed to be fossilized. Let me back up. Hold on. Cancel that. They're not fossilized. What they are is they are dead plants that layer upon layer upon layer upon layer, stacked up, squished down. All right, lots and lots of pressure, and then it turns it into oil. Now, we can make an oil that's similar to that out of algae, right, today, okay? And that's work, because that's a renewable resource. But it takes a lot of energy, and it's actually a lot more expensive to do that than it is just to pump the stuff up out the ground. And it takes a lot of space. I mean, so we're not going to talk about that right now, but there are all alternatives to that. But anyway, so what happened is long time ago, the Earth was covered with lots and lots of plants, and they die, fall down, get stacked up one on top of another, and then they'd squish together, and then that would create all our fossil fuels. So fossil fuels are things like propane, natural gas, crude oil, which we turn into like diesel and gasoline and all that kind of stuff. So those are your fossil fuels. And then the other question on this one is, what resources are sustainable? And those are going to be our renewable resources. So what sustainable means is that we can use them, all right, for the foreseeable future, which means, like for instance, I like Pepsi, all right, and I'm not like, Pepsi, if you want to send me some money for this, cool. I mean, awesome. I mean, I could buy tons of stuff for my classroom, but I like Pepsi, and so I can drink out of this can, all right. But eventually the can's going to get empty, so it's going to run out. So that's like fossil fuels. Eventually, I'm going to run out of this Pepsi, and I'm going to have to get more. Sustainable resources means that I could drink out of this Pepsi for the rest of my life, and I never run out. So that's a pretty good analogy for what sustainable means. It means that we can use it and use it and use it and use it and use it. Fossil fuels are not sustainable, all right? Renewable resources are. So we can keep planting crops as long as we take care of the environment. We can keep growing crops there, energy from the sun, plants will turn it into energy, store energy and food for us. We can eat the food, we can have that energy, and then we're happy. So that's pretty cool. All right, let's go on to the next slide. Oh, any questions? If you do, send me an email, ask me in class, that kind of stuff. All right, or if you're in another classroom, ask your teacher. That's really good. Teachers are smart. Not just toot my own horn. Other teachers way smarter than me. All right. Okay, scientific theory. We got to talk about this. Let's see, where should I go? Let's put me up here. That is really cool. I can move myself around. Anyway, the scientific theory. Okay, so to be accepted, a scientific theory must do three things. It has to do all three of these things for it to be a scientific theory. First, it must explain a phenomenon, all right? So it must explain something that happens in the world, all right? Second thing is it has to make accurate predictions. And then finally, it has to have undergone extensive, rigorous testing. Now, what that means is, let's break each one of those down. So a phenomenon is just, like I said, it's something weird that happens. For example, let's see, what's something good that I can think of just right off the top of my head? Because, I'm doing this ad lib, so, kind of give me a break. It's like if I was in the classroom teaching to a whole bunch of students, I wouldn't be sitting at my desk, I'd be standing up. This is nice. Anyway, okay. I get sidetracked real easy. Can you see how hard it'd be for my students in my classroom? All right? But these kind of breaks are kind of nice because, they kind of get to put their pen down and zone off and pretend like they're listening to Mr. Richards when they're really not. Okay. Explain a phenomenon. All right, a phenomenon. All right, let's say I hold, let me grab something right here. All right. I hold this marker, okay? And if I let go of this, hopefully everybody out there watching me is going to know what happens to it, right? It's going to fall, drop, that kind of stuff. All right, so let's see what happens. Wow, it did it. That was really cool. It was really cool because it did in slow motion. Here, I'm going to do it again. Oh, that is so awesome. Okay, hopefully it's on my screen, because I got a little video thing up here I can see. It's right there, but you guys can't see it. Anyway, it slow motion falls. It's like cool. I don't know if it's going to do that once I play the video back. I may look like something's wrong with me. But anyway, so my point is it fell. All right. Oops. It really fell. All right. So that's a phenomenon. Why does the marker fall? And so a theory would explain why the marker fell. And then a theory, a valid scientific theory, would predict every single time this marker falls, what would happen to it. All right? And then finally, and a prediction means it's going to tell what's going to happen in the future. All right? And then finally, have undergone extensive rigorous testing. Okay, so here at this time period, just a month and a half ago, something like that, the solar eclipse came across the United States. And we were fortunate enough that we were at like 95% totality. And the theory of planetary motion predicted what was going to happen. And so the phenomenon was, it getting dark, all right? Why it got dark was explained by this theory, and it predicted that the moon was going to move in between the Earth and the sun. Did I say that right? Sometimes I say it in my head and then it doesn't come out right. So the moon moved in between the Earth and the sun. Yeah, I said it right. Okay. And then what's cool is this is going to happen again in the year 2024, right? 7 years, I think April, something like that. Someone look it up, post in the comments, find out exactly when that is. Either that or I might Google it later. I don't know. I'll tell you. Okay. So, and then the theory has to undergo extensive rigorous testing, which means that we've proven over and over and over again as scientists that this theory works and it fits. So that brings us to this question: what's the difference between a scientific law and a scientific theory? Okay, and so laws and theories are two different things, and really fast, a theory will never grow up into a law. So that's one thing that you could talk about. But what I want you to do is, it's another talking point. I like these because we're human beings. We're meant to communicate. And you're an intelligent person. You got a big old brain on top of your body. And I want you to go out and use it right now and find somebody to talk to and discuss with them. Ask them, hey, what's the difference between a scientific law and a scientific theory? And see what they have. See what they have to say. Tell them what you think. And I'll sit here and wait for you to come back. I'm not going to wait very long, so you might pause me so that you don't miss out on anything really, really cool. But I'll sit here and stare off into space, or you know what I'll do? Well, you guys are pausing. I'm going to look up and see when exactly that next solar eclipse is going to happen. See? Aha, I have an idea. So I'm going to pause the video since you're pausing the video, and then we'll be back in a few minutes. Okay? Hold on just a second. Okay, Google's an amazing thing. Welcome back, by the way. Before we get talking about the difference between scientific law and scientific theory, the next eclipse will be April 8th, 2024. So, hey, I was really close to remembering that. But anyway, so the difference between a scientific law and a scientific theory. As simple as I can put it, we're going to come back to this marker thing again. I know, and hopefully you guys know, that when I let go of the marker, it falls. Okay? That's a law. So the observation of the marker falling, sound effects, they're awesome. Okay. Watching it happen or observing it happening is the law. So the law of gravity says that if that two objects are pause for just a second. Let me get my thoughts back up. All right. Here's what the law says: that the force of gravity is based upon the mass of the objects. So in this case, the marker and the planet Earth, the mass of the objects, all right, and the distance between them. So the more the mass there is, the stronger the attraction is. And so since the Earth is really, really big, the marker is really, really small, they're kind of close together because, they're like 3 feet apart right now, about a meter, then the marker is going to be pulled towards the Earth. So it doesn't really fall. It's actually pulled to the earth by the force of gravity. It does fall, but just terminology difference. Anyway, so that's an observation. We know that it works that way. A theory explains why it works that way, or I think it works that way because. So a law explains or shows the observation. So when I let go of the marker, it falls. All right, that's the law. For the most part, laws, that's the way it always works. Okay, so in other words, if I stood here and did this from now until the end of time, the marker would fall, as long as the conditions are right. And just so you know, I hear this all the time. Well, not if you have a string attached to it. And yet that's true. If there was a string going up and hold on to the marker and I let go of it, it wouldn't fall because the string would hold it in place. But that would be a different set of conditions because now I'd be letting go of a marker that was held by a string. So what would happen in that case is that the string would be pulled taut or tight. So then it would hang and it'd move back and forth, which is also a different law. But anyway, that's more for like physics and stuff like that, beyond the scope of environmental science. All right, so if you want some more information about this, there's an excellent TED video, and the link is down here, and I don't know exactly, there it is right there. I'll probably put a link in the comments or something like that for this video, the link to it, but these are just my PowerPoints that I showed to my class. So anyway, I normally click on this and we'd watch the video at this point and then come back and take some more notes. So if you want to learn more about the difference between scientific law and scientific theory, then by all means, pause me, go watch that video, and then come back to me. All right, how's everybody doing on notes? Good? All right, great. Let's move on. All right, so to talk about ethics, I had to go change clothes. Actually, this is a completely different day. I had to stop recording and then finish at a later date. Anyway, so ethics. Ethics are the moral principles or values believed by a person or a society. All right, so let's define moral principles. Moral principles are what a person thinks is right or wrong, or what society thinks is right or wrong. For example, moral principles would be like, is abortion okay? Is it okay to kill somebody? Is the death penalty okay? What about recreational drug use? Those kinds of things are all moral principles, right or wrong, speed limits, all that kind of stuff. It's what we think is right or wrong. Environmental ethics focuses on the relationships between humans and their environment. So ethics is just what everybody's general idea about what is right or wrong. And every single culture, every single family, every single person has different ethics. And then everybody has different environmental ethics, or what they think is right or wrong about the environment. And for example, I'll give you this. Okay, so right now we pump oil up out of the ground, process it, refine it, turn it into gasoline, put it in our cars, drive our cars. All right, and then we release pollution into the air, and it is causing some serious side effects to our environment. And so is it okay for us to do that? Is it okay for us to damage our environment to make our lives easier? Electricity is another one. 80-some% of our electricity comes from burning fossil fuels. And so that means only 20% come from other resources, such as hydroelectric, nuclear, solar, that kind of stuff. And we say as a society that we like electricity, and basically we don't care if we're hurting the environment. We want electricity. And so those are some of the environmental ethics that you, whenever you become adults, are going to have to decide. So it's pretty important stuff. And hopefully from this class we'll learn more and more about how our actions as humans affect our environment and the long-term roles or the long-term things that take place from that. So, all right. Let's see what's next. Look at that. We're done. All right. So finally done. 25 minutes. Wow, this has been a long video. Thanks for sticking in with me. If you have any questions, please put it in the comments below. And otherwise, this is Mr. Richard saying adios.